Hello and welcome back. I am thirteene and we are continuing the sweetness today. So yesterday was Ponza. Tonight is going to be Esper Goryos Vengeance. So first and foremost, I am sorry for the late start. Life's kind of catching up to me, and then I got to tonight and flip cards still weren't working, and I tried to fix them but didn't quite get there. Missing cards are obviously Jay's Friend's Prodigy. So deck tonight is actually kind of a sweet sort of grindy deck. It's fair Esper Goryos Vengeance. I know I kind of did a Highlander thing a while back, and that was a decent attempt at this, but this is just getting a little bit of advantage out of Goryos Vengeance, and the only unfair thing we were doing is trying to make those cards permanent. So, onto the deck. Oh, yep. Didn't even get screenshots ready, so we're doing this old school. Goryos Vengeance and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So the interaction here is Goryos Vengeance will allow us to return target legendary creature from our graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste and then exile at the beginning of the next end step. Our two primary targets here are going to be Jace Vryn's Prodigy and Obzedat. So the sweetness about these two cards is JVP will allow you to draw and discard. If there are 5 or more cards in the graveyard, you exile it and he returns as a planeswalker. Because he exiled, he becomes a new object, meaning that if you can flip Jace after bringing him in off of a Goryos Vengeance, he is a free permanent planeswalker. And the backside of Jace actually allows us to recast things, sort of similar to Snapcaster Mage. So hopefully we're just going to be able to take advantage of that, get a planeswalker off of Goryos Vengeance, a free loot. Then Obzedat, most Commander players are pretty familiar with. He also did very well in Draft, and I think he even played a little bit in Standard, but I wasn't around then. But 5 mana for a 5/5. When he enters, target opponent gets drained for 2. So we're going to be using Goryos Vengeance to drain for 2 when he enters. And then at the beginning of your next end step, you may exile Obzedat. If you do, return him to the battlefield under its owner's control. At the beginning of the next upkeep, it gains haste. So once again, becomes a new object. So Obzedat will actually come in permanently, giving us a 5/5 for 2 mana that drains every upkeep. And then we will be running this on top of a Esper Shell. Liliana the Veil will allow us to discard our Goryos Vengeance targets. Anytime that there's a Liliana with white mana, Lingering Souls is pretty close behind it. Just really good value. We also have Collective Brutality as another way to get cards into the graveyard. Then last but not least, we are building this on a shell of Esper cards that are strong, like Path to Exile, Thoughtscour, Thoughtseize. So we're going to be trying to play a control game while trying to cheese in a couple of legendaries from our graveyard. We're still okay casting a Jace for its mana cost. Top decking Obzedat late game is fine, but we do get to do this all on the back of some other powerful cards, like we could bring in Grizzle Daddy. Tasker is just a good value drop. We are running 4 Thoughtscours, which means we can turbo them out as quick as turn 2, and that's going to be our deck tonight. So this was a little bit on the fringe of the format. Goryos, as foretold, kind of took over, and I know I've played that a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, just want the sweetness to go. These Obzedats are terrible in our hand like this, so this is a 5-card hand with 1 cantrip and 4 lands. It's a pretty easy mull. And this is actually okay. Don't like taking the shock on 1. We really don't have a ton of interaction outside this Collective Brutality, but we can do a turn 3 Obzedat. Yeah, we'll hang on to that, and I think that means that we're just tucking the planes because we don't have a use for it yet. And it's Tron. So we're probably going to be a little slow for Tron. Sweet Fair deck typically means loses to Tron and anything explosive, but okay, this is fair. I'll actually not shock myself. Probably doesn't matter versus Tron, but it's acceptable. I do not want another land, and Collective Brutality here will give me a turn 3 Jace. Yeah, that's not good enough. What I'm actually looking for at this point is a Grizzlebrand, so we could just unfair the opponent. And they have turn 3 Tron. Alright, well, unfortunately, we're going to be showing our opponent what we're up to. But we may as well 2-mode this guy. Target opponent. See if they have a payoff. Discard Obzedat. They have a Wormcoil and a Walking Ballista. Okay. The opponent's going to have Chromatic Star into Stirrings into Wormcoil. No, they're going to be a mana shy of the Wormcoil. Either way, Stirrings can find them another threat. We might be able to put some kind of action in. It's not looking great, though. Obzedat being a 5/5 with no evasion means that he's not going to get much done. What is the timing on him? Being of urine step. Okay, so we're going to take the hit from the Wormcoil, swing back with Obzedat. Inquisition. So opponent ran out the Chromatic Sphere, the Power Plant, and the Wormcoil. This means I get to take the Walking Ballista, and they found an O-Stone. Yeah, this is looking pretty lost, but we'll put up a fight. We'll at least try. And there's a card. Well, we'll probably kill Karn. I'm assuming they're going after our lands here. Goryos Vengeance, targeting Obzedat. Drain for 2. Oh! I had to do that during my end step. Yeah, whatever. It's over. Sorry, that interaction is I can do it at their end step and it's fine. Disenchant comes in, Counter Squall comes in, Surgical Extraction could be a consideration. We only have 2 Field of Ruins. We do have Discard though, which means we can discard and Surgical. Geist is actually a clock here, and we really need to step up our clock. The slower things are going to have to come out. That's Lingering Souls. That's probably some number of Jaces, although he does let us discard. I don't like trimming all of my paths versus Tron because they typically bring in Wormcoils out of the side. Like, our opponent happened to have 1 main board, but when I play blue-white, I typically like to keep 2. We can try to cantrip into 1, or Jace Telepath Unbound can flash it back if we Thought Scour over it. So it's okay to have a number of them. Fatal Push is bad. I think I'd prefer to have a path. The Collective Brutalities are okay. They're a little bit of reach, and they can dress out Sylvan Scrying and Ancient Stirrings, but grabbing an Ancient Stirrings on the play isn't even possible, and you have to be on the play to grab a Stirrings. EE could be a consideration, but it'd probably just snag the halves of Wormcoil. I'm not excited about that. I think this is a fine spread. The only last consideration would probably be the Collective Brutality for the last path to exile, but I think the Duress and the Drain, more importantly the discard, are worth it. So we'll submit like that. Alright, we have a Jace, an Obzedat, a Goryos Vengeance, and a Counter Squall. This hand looks fine. We don't have a turn 1 play, which is a little unfortunate, but we can basically run out a 2-drop, start filtering into Obzedat, and hold up Counter Squall for their turn 3. Leyline of the Void. Alright. That is one of the problems going to post board. I'm a little surprised they have Leyline. I guess that means they didn't want to buy Surgicals. So we have a Watery Grave. We want black and white, so that's a Godless Shrine. That's a Disenchant. So there's Jace. Do need to start finding some lands, though. That's definitely something that needs to happen. Opponent's on a little bit of a slower start. There's a Power Plant. Thought Scour. Alright, let's just start going for it. Discard Obzedat, and no land there's a little rough, but next turn we get a Thought Scour, loot with Jace, hopefully find a land in one of those 3 cards, land for turn, or card for turn, Thought Scour, and Jace's loot. So we have 3 shots at it, and then the Goryos Vengeance at their end step, or the Collective Brutality at... Why do you hate fun, opponent? I mean, I know Hogak's a thing, but why do you hate fun? Alright, so draw for turn wasn't very good. There's a Geist. I'm going to force opponent to pop Relic here. Oh, they're just going to let us go for it? And we still didn't hit a land. Alright, well, Goryos Vengeance is significantly worse in the face of everything here. Then I can flashback Disenchant to force action, but... Oh, no, we're going for that Thoughtseize. I don't know how I missed that. Thoughtscour is a complicated Magic card. Aha! Honestly, not the best, but whatever. We dealt with it. I need a land. That's a worm coil. It's totally a worm coil. Land? Land! So I can shrink it. It's still going to kill Jace, but that's fine. Watery Grave. I think that means I have to leave up Counter Squall and see what opponent attacks. I wouldn't be too surprised if they attack Jace, in which case I can just Goryos Vengeance at end step and get a replacement. Yep, went after Jace. So I'm reading that as they have no action in hand. Yep, they're looking. Relic's gone, Power Plant's gone. They found another Power Plant. So this could be an Ugin. Ghost Quarter. Alright, well, Goryos Vengeance is going to be the 5th card. We're taking it out of Jace, so it goes down to 4. Looting here should flip Jace. Drew a Tasigur. That's not bad. I think that means I'm discarding the Collective Brutality, though. It's just doing the least for me at the moment. Polluted Delta is a fine draw. So I want to get a blue source, and I want to make sure I have black up. I currently have 2 blue sources and 3 blacks, so taking a shock will actually take the Worm Coil down to a 2-turn clock if I'm not doing anything with the Jace Plus. I think this is just a snow-covered island. Then we get to... I can recast the Thought Scour and run out Geist. I'm really afraid opponent has an Ulamog. I don't think we can beat it, though, so we can't play around that. We'll go ahead and just eat most of our graveyard and run out this Tasigur. I don't need the other Jays. We have one on the way. The Goryos Vengeance is recastable. Yeah. There's a good friend Tasigur. Shrink that. Then that's going to be our blue and black, so I get to Serum Vision, set up future draws. Ooh, okay. Thoughtseize, not overly excited about. They're just going to cast the Ulamog if they have it, but I have Counter Squall for any Planeswalkers coming in. Ah, that's fair. I should have seen that coming. Unfortunately, this Worm Coil gets to do anything that it wants to. I would have counter-squalled that. Just because it has Death Touch, I can't get in through the Tasigur. I think I still just want to top deck a Grizzlebrand, and they're going after me. Okay, that's fine. I don't have much to say about that. Yep, can't beat that. All right. Turn 3 Tron, turn 4 Tron with a fair, grindy deck just really isn't going to go the distance there. Unfortunately, that is the cost of doing business. Let's go ahead and update our record to show sadness against Ulamog. One of the nice things about this deck is the fact that it can occasionally just flip in a Grizzle Daddy. Goryos, as foretold, runs 4 though because of the fact that Living End can actually flip it into play as well. We can't necessarily get around that much graveyard hate, but opponent just didn't have a threat. We were able to deal with the Leyline of the Void. We kind of got around the Relic by forcing our opponent's action, but I don't know. Can only do so much. All right, this is a very greedy keep, but it has a lot of the pieces that I like. So we have 2 draws before a land matters. What is our actual land count? So we have 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21. I'll roll those dice. We're playing fun decks. We got to go for the ones that actually set us up to win. Besides, if we whiff for a turn, we can just Fatal Push whatever our opponent's doing. Darkslick Shores makes me miss fairies. That was a really fun deck. Opponent is on Niv. So this could be interesting. Opponent's going to be trying to cast Spring to Light and Niv Mizzet Reborn to draw a card of multiple guild colors. And they tutored up a Stomping Ground. Path, not really what I'm looking for. That's a sad land. It's pretty, but it's a sad land. Expecting a Caryatid out of opponent here, so I won't even be able to Fatal Push it. Okay, bird I can kill. I'm happy with the bird. And a Field of Ruins pretty good too. So they actually do run like at least 4 basics, so that Field of Ruins not going to be active for a little while. I'm just going to go ahead and cast the Jace so I can start setting up for a flip. Not having white for this path makes me super sad. Lightning Helix. Okay. Would have loved to have pathed my Jace there, but opponent's missing land drop, so we might have a ball game. Oh, and look at that. So, free Goryos Vengeance for the most part. Let's bring back Jace. We'll go ahead and loot with him. Discard Obzedat. Would have loved a land. I'm going to go ahead and just cash in this Thought Scour. No, I'm not. I'm going to flashback Goryos Vengeance next turn on the Obzedat so I can get a clock going. Wanting a land can make you do some desperate things. Alright, 3 mana is a decent starting point for opponent. Kind of expecting a Teferi here. Ashiok. That's fine. That's not so fun. Liliana of the Vel. Collective Brutality Duress is looking interesting, but what can I do? We'll just start taxing the hand. We are probably going for the mill at the moment, which is so depressing. I want to be able to plus Liliana and Goryos Vengeance if I draw one, so we'll just discard a Collective Brutality. Discard Supreme Verdict. Of note, Ashiok is making it so that I can't go get my planes for this Path to Exile. But this is at -9. 2 turns out. There's a Teferi. He can minus and not bounce anything. Yep. That's what opponent goes for. They do find a land. It's another pain land, but we're not really putting pressure up. Oh! So I'm going to use Obzedat as a bait here off of the Liliana. It's only going to make Ashiok activate, but still seems good enough. We are a turn away from this creeping tar pit to kill the Teferi. We can plus no targets. That's slightly awkward, but I don't think opponent has anything with haste. They are one land away from Niv and drawing a ton of cards, but... Yep, I mean, that's how you start. What you gonna reveal? I mean, honestly, that's kind of okay. I want my white mana, and I want to activate Creeping Tar Pit. So opponents should still have 1 to 2 more Lightning Helixes in their deck. Oh, the way this is going, I'm actually kind of close to casting Grizzlebrand. I'm just going to duress here. I don't think my life total is going to matter at the moment. Am I? No, I'm going to cash this out so I know opponent doesn't have a removal spell, and then I'm going to kill Ashiok so Grizzlebrand stays in the yard. They had a Niv. That's interesting. Oh no, I don't have the extra mana. Yes, I do. I'm an idiot. Pay no attention to me. I'm bad at this game. Kill Ashiok. My graveyard is back online, holding up Path to Exile. I'm really expecting to just plus Liliana here. Okay, so they're going to go get a creature. They have to cast it this turn. Sin Collector. So, your choice, opponent. They should take the Collective Brutality. That leaves me with a path to kill a future Niv. I'll just Edict the Sin Collector and kill Teferi and be up with a Liliana. Yep, as expected. Snow-covered island. You sack a creature. Then Field of Ruin, go get a land because Ashiok's gone. Activate Creeping Tar Pit. Let's take them off of one of their free multicolored spells. This can cast Birds of Paradise and Caryatid. Probably not worth it. All right. Kill Teferi. Not holding up Path at the moment, but again, I don't believe their deck plays anything hasty. They're basically looking at like Lightning Helixes and Teferi's Assassin's Trophies. You get my path. That's fine. Sarah, free redraw. Goryos Vengeance brings in a Grizzlebrand, so 100% going for it. So I think I kind of just want to put the Godless Shrine to the bottom, and I'm kind of okay milling over the Jace. Just get a Jace in the yard. That's a polluted delta. Probably could have done better, but that's fine. We are in the commanding spot. Unfortunately, the way that the opponent's deck works is they basically just have to draw a Niv Mizzet, and they can draw up to 10 cards. So, opponent is one top deck away from doing all right here. And I don't think my deck is stacked any particular way. Opponent's not putting me under pressure. I'm going to fetch the thin. Liliana alting is more important than a path to exile. But if opponent has flash, they're going to try to do something here. So let's just go ahead and plus empty opponent's hand. I can't imagine there's much in their deck that they can't cast. So a Helix? Nope. K-Command. 2 damage to Lily, I discard. I was going to discard anyway. You got it. But hitting Lily means that they're going to keep at least 5 lands into play, so Niv is a live draw. If they cast Niv, they're taking 2 damage at the moment. Wow. I honestly feel like this is some horrendous luck. But as long as we're getting chip beats in, these mana confluences should start to punish them. So they're dead in 2 hits from Creeping Tar Pit if they top deck Niv. That's a Lingering Souls. That's a good card. We're plussing now in case the opponent has something ridiculous like a Static Caster. Yep. I said Static Caster, but Is It Charm definitely fits the bill there. And I want to hit with Creeping Tar Pit, so the Lingering Souls flashback will have to wait a turn. I could see opponent having another Ashiok, but this is basically the game. Yep. All right. I actually felt like we were behind in that one for a while. Surgical Extraction feels a little relevant just because if I hit Niv, they've got a bunch of off-color, hard-to-cast things. But this is a typical example of opponent has cards, bring in Surgical. I don't really want to follow that logic if I can help it. Counter Squall can stop any number of their threats, like the... Oh, I'm blanking on the name. Ashiok, it can stop Lightning Helix, it can stop K-Command. They have a lot of value instants and sorcery, so Counter Squall's probably making the cut. Collective Brutality can kill their mana dorks. It's probably less relevant on the draw, so I think they're going to stay there for the moment. Geist will be able to attack in through most of their stuff until they get to Niv. What am I actually wanting to cut here? So Lingering Souls can chump block Niv for a while as well as just be a good value card. Liliana Last Hope can chip off creatures as well as buy back threats. I am expecting the opponent to have more graveyard hate in the board. So, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Path. It just ramps them into their inevitability. We have Fatal Pushes. I could actually see this trim thinking about it. If they land Niv, they do technically have a 6/6 flying lifelinker, or sorry, a 6/6 flyer. I don't think that's overly relevant. I want some number of these in the board to find one, but I don't necessarily care about it to begin with. Liliana the Vel's still good versus Niv. I need to trim some cards. Let's try a 3/3 split of this. Obzedat is still our closest thing to a clock. Most of opponent's removal shouldn't be able to kill Tassiger. I am expecting Graveyard Hate coming in. Maybe just bring in the other Disenchant and actually stay on the 2 Collective Brutalities. I'm not stoked about this. It works. I'm just not stoked about it. Yeah, we'll do that. And I'm going to go off mic for one moment. All right, sorry about that. Micro Dog was having small dog problems. I like this hand. It doesn't do anything flashy. It's going to be a Thought Scour on one, probably nothing on two unless I top deck a thing that I care about, but then multiple Lilianas if they're on the small creature plan. Lily's good. If they're not, Liliana the Vel's good. All right, and opponent's either going to go tutor a land or drop a birds. This is a really good card in their deck. Niv can flip it, and it can also get like any color combination that they need. It gets 8 of the duels, if I'm not mistaken. There's your Godless Shrine. Inquisition. I am going to Thought Scour here. I care more about the cards in the yard than I do in my hand. And I have multiple colors, but yeah, this is going to get a duel. I'll just get an island here. That's fine. We put a path in the bin. I'm expecting Vel getting taken here. Yep. Ah, and they had another one. All right. Ooh, a lot of lands. Faithless Looting is one of the reasons people don't like the Esper build. Okay. So likely getting a Godless Shrine with this, and yep, that's going to be our turn 2. I think opponent Ashiocking is about the worst thing that can happen here. They've got the mana for it, so Sin Collector. All right, well, they're going to take our Lingering Souls, then we'll kill it with the Lily. Let's say a Force of Negation. I think they might have 2 in the board, but there's so many different colors that I can't imagine their deck can support it. Jeez, I'm just going to get my Swamp here. The way things are going, I'm going to be able to hard cast Obzedat off of basics, so Shrinky Dink. What is our hit rate here? We take a look at the deck. We have 4 Jaces. We have a Tasigur, 3 Obzedats, and a Grizzlebrand. Yeah, we're not minusing Lily without any targets. We can't do that. That's also weird because my Lily's going to kill it. Not a huge fan of opponent sequencing here. Alright, let's Inquisition, see what we can actually take with the Brutality. Niv and Bring to Light. So they are 1 turn away from the Bring to Light. Alright. I guess we'll take 1 just that they don't have a ton of gas. This is where a Surgical would be nice. Cracking during main phase. So they found something for 4 mana, or they need to get their red source. They got their red source tapped. The card would be put into a graveyard from anywhere. It's put on the bottom of the player's library. Honestly, that's fine. And that's a brutality. All right, we got white, white, black, black, 1. Obzedat. We're going to plus no targets. Then we will exile. They don't have anything with haste, and we know about their entire hand. Look at that. No targets. That was a lose. I should have attacked first in case they had a creature with flash. I don't think it's very likely, but it's still what I should have done. And we're going to two-mode this. We're going to drain them for 2 because Obzedat's just going back into our deck, and we're going to take their Bring to Light. Just put them down to 2. Oh, they found Supreme Verdict, and they didn't cast it? Oh, yeah, because Obzedat wasn't on the field. I'm bad with this deck. So when Obzedat enters, we will win unless opponent top decks a Helix. And if they top deck a Helix, they're just dead to the attack. All right, well, just saw what fair matchups can do. I'd say that was a pretty sweet showing. Like, it's definitely a fun deck. Man, I really wish I could fix flip cards. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But it's always so embarrassing when the card image doesn't load. Anytime that you're playing with JVP, though, just feels like a good day. Like, things feel like they're going right. Love to take the play again. Turn 1 Thought Scour, turn 2 Shockland with a Thought Scour, turn 3 Liliana. I mean, if you like Thought Scours and Lilianas, and I definitely do, this is probably a good thing. Ooh, we even hit a Lingering Souls and a Jace. It must be my birthday. Oh, they're going to discard Jace. Oh, they might take Lily. Odds are they're going to take Jace, though. No, they're going to take Lily because they're going to expect me to flash back Lingering Souls. But joke's on you. Oh, okay. Well, that's sad. I wanted that. I really want to stick this Liliana the Vel, so I'm going to actually check for discard here, top decking this. So we'll go ahead and tomb mode. No, we're not. We're just going to duress. The life gain could matter depending on what deck this is. Oh, it's just Jund. Alright. Game on. Yep, that's time to be sad about the collective brutality, but I guess Lily's just going to eat that. And I don't want opponent to get card advantage here. This is going to be a battle of wits and a battle of attrition, so I just don't want my opponent to actually get ahead. We don't put enough pressure on to punish opponent for Bob, and seeing Bob means they're probably not on Wrenn and 6. That was a fine top deck for them. Watergrave. Okay, so I'm going to lead on Thought Scour, expecting to flash back the Lingering Souls. I'm expecting an opponent to Liliana and plus, in which case I'll discard Lingering Souls. But if they Blood Braid, they can't attack because I'm going to have 2 blockers. Ooh, that's a Last Hope. If I slam Last Hope and opponent wheels into a... What's more likely? Are they going to hit one of the 3 remaining lightning bolts in hand, or are they going to hit one of the potentially 6 remaining discards? It's probably the discards. So am I okay to let Liliana take a hit? Yeah, I am. I just want to get Liliana on the table. And plussing with no targets means she'll survive Blood Braid. I don't know the last card in an opponent's hand, but odds are they're Blood Braiding here to attack Lily. Or they might just jam this. I don't think they know about this Lingering Souls. Oh, rip. Rip, rip, rip. It's so weird. This Baron Moore makes me think that they're on Ren and 6, but Bob typically means they're not. Alright, well, let's just dump Lingering Souls. Opponent has me on a 5-turn clock. I have opponent on a 5-turn clock, but I'm going to get more spirits. Opponent does have a Liliana. They probably know about my Marsh Flats. They do have Ren and 6. So Field of Ruin is actively bad here. At least until I kill Ren and 6. That's a path. I like that. Attack with all creatures, kill Ren and 6. Opponent needs 2 removal spells to keep it alive. Then gonna flash this back. A lot of Jund players are playing Nihil Spellbomb main right now because of Hogak. And I'm going to check to see if they have removal. They're acting like they do, but I'm holding this path, so I should be able to get around it. Still taking 2 damage off this, but whatever. Bloodbraid's not on the table anymore. You do not get a 2 for 1. In fact, you used a Fatal Push on one of my 4 spirits. Lily of the Vel, probably making me Edict a Spirit. And then if they do top deck a future Ren and 6, their worst card to put back into play is this Blackleaf Cliff, so I'm going to remove that. They don't have any fetch lands in the bin at the moment. And I currently need blue more. That's a good top deck. Lingering Souls is such a good magic card. Okay, so 1 at Lily. Opponent has no cards in hand. Then I'm going to cast 1/2 of this and not the other half. If they get a Nihil Spellbomb, they take advantage of it, but if they find another Maelstrom Pulse, yeah, it's just so hard for fair matchups to get around Lingering Souls. Counter Squall comes in. It can hit a Lily on the draw. Collective Brutality is not nearly as good. In fact, I might be trimming my entire Goryos package just because of how hard they can hit on my graveyard. Geist is very hard for them to remove, so that's an automatic in. I can try to bring in Disenchant. I don't necessarily want Leyline of the Void. I can shrink the size of Goyf. I can make it so that Scoozes don't grow as high. EE comes in. I can get rid of Planeswalkers or any of their 2-drops. This is so strong when their board is like Bob and Goyf and Ren and 6, Scooz, and just EE and get like a 5 for 1. Most of the time the game doesn't progress like that, but it's still a fair assessment. Because I am 100% expecting them to hate on the graveyard, I'm probably taking this package out. A lot of my other cards are fine. Given the fact that opponent is on the Ren and 6 and the Bob, I don't know what to expect out of them. I'm assuming Surgical and Leyline are both possibilities. Lingering Souls get significantly worse. I don't know if I'll win fair matchups, though. Obzedat will be smaller than Goyf. Tasker is smaller than Gurmag Angler and Goyf. All the 1-for-1 removal's fine. I don't know. Maybe I'm just taking this entire package out. Trim on one of him. What does that curve look like? I guess I don't need the Disenchant. The Disenchant can actually save my Lingering Souls and JVP, so I'm kind of okay with the Disenchant. That's probably as good as it gets. Like, maybe Grizzlebrand should be coming out just because I'm not expecting to win through the graveyard and I have no Goryos Vengeance. So that would be the last Obzedat in. Yeah, that's probably fine. Renin 6 is going to be really hard for our deck to deal with, though. Esper Goryos is a little bit of an older build. I didn't really make a consideration for Renin 6. We probably need to have a number of the Spark of Betrayal. Price of Betrayal. Kill target Planeswalker, essentially. It's pretty easy to recast with Jace and all of that. I've mentioned it before, but as long as you have a good number of cards in your hand, especially in these matchups with a lot of discard on both sides, you typically just want to keep as long as it's somewhat playable. I don't have blue mana. I'm not casting this Obzedat anytime soon. I only have one black source on turn 2, but I am on the draw, and the rest of my cards are functional. The further each player mulligans down, it just lowers the card count, and it makes the overall attrition worse just because you're down 1 the entire time. Yep. And they mulligan for Leyline, so they're playing 5 cards versus 7, and 2 are discards. And we found a land. We're good at this game. And by that, I mean our deck's treating right now. It wasn't before, but it is now. Oh, look at that. That is... We have a little bit of a slower hand, but if we slam this Geist, like opponent doesn't top deck any of the discard spells, and we just get Geist down, we'll probably just win from that spot. Yeah, let's see what you top decked. Nothing. Alright, well, that kind of fixed mulliganing a little bit. Cycled the Barrenmore. Yeah, I knew about that. I probably should have waited a turn, but I knew what I was jamming on turn 3, and a turn 4 Inquisition doesn't... like, it's so counterproductive. Well, there's a Goyf. So I have a target for... and they drew an Overgrown Tomb. Alright. Mild missequencing from opponent showing me what they drew. But... so I have a Field of Ruin. I need a blue source and a black source. That's a Watery Grave. Ah, I didn't Fatal Push. So bad at this game. So bad. I get a punt. I give myself a punt. That was bad. That was so bad. And now because I have another tap land, I can't Lingering Souls and Fatal Push. That's a Bob. That's a Thoughtseize. So, opponent has a Swamp in hand. There's no point to Thoughtseize. They are intending on cracking this Nurturing Peat. Do I want to trade Geist for Bob and 2 points and 4 points of damage? I probably do. So let's just go ahead and get that running. I can tap for mana. I've done it before. Opponent's pretty much priced into this. They can't do much about the Angel. Then top decking a white source will let me Obzedat. That's weird. They have Guru, Swamp, and Forest, and then a random mountain. Snow-covered island. Okay, so I think opponent's just on more lands because they ran out the mountain. We know about the swamp. Most of their deck costs 4 mana or less, so I'm going to go ahead and Field of Ruin. That'll put me at 3 mana and just cash the Lingering Souls out. The intent here being that I take them off. Green's more important in case they have a Skews. But the intent here being that I can follow up with Obzedat next turn. And I almost grabbed the wrong land. So opponent might have a Fatal Push. That would actually make sense. Or a K command. Both would be acceptable. But for some reason it was a 5 mana instant. Moved main 2. Floating mana is no good. K command. We will discard Thoughtseize and return Dark Confidant. Yep, that all is acceptable. I'm about to have 5 unblockable damage coming at you, as well as draining for 2 every turn. Counter Squall. Yeah, I don't think that really changes my plan. Probably should have attacked first in case the opponent was holding something instant speed and they were going to blow it on a Spirit. But Obzedat has this really nice ability of not being on the table during my opponent's turn, so if it's just a Maelstrom Pulse, it's not going to get them very far. Oh, you got me. Looks like Bob's going to be chump blocking this turn. That's fine. I think that actually means Creeping Tar Pit's not getting in. I'm pretty far ahead on board, so... And they don't have an answer for Obzedat. Maybe that was loose? Guess not. They needed the 2 damage. Alright, well that puts you at lethal next turn. You have to answer Creeping Tar Pit and have a blocker, or an answer for Obzedat. Yeah, that's not a great spell bomb. So we did board correctly. They brought in a lot of things to try to hedge against us, and we just boarded correctly. Alright, GG's opponent. That was a fun game. Move up to 2-1 with Esper Goryos. Feels pretty good. I don't believe that this deck is anywhere near meta or amazing. We will try our best to actually close out a good league here, but it's just a little slow and fair, and other decks do it better. No blue, but Collective Brutality, both Lilianas, and we're on the draw. Well, I have a turn 1 and a turn 2 play, which means I have multiple looks at another source to make this playable. We look a lot like fairies with this hand, actually. Like a whole lot like fairies. Eldrazi Temple. Well, I know what my brutality's pointed at next turn, but I'm going to be doing... Oh boy. Rip. Well, I found my land, and opponent has 1 card in hand. So next turn's brutality should put me back into this game, and I can 3-mode it. There's nothing to dress. There's no point to dress. So I guess I'll just 2-mode it. Collective Brutality, 2 modes, -2, -2. So I can't cast these 1-drops. I don't really have any way to recover it. Let's actually just go all three. I kind of want to see what's in my opponent's hand. I highly doubt that they kept it on the strength of a Mimic and a... I want the Path in case for some reason I get out of Chalice. What else did you keep? There's another Eldrazi Temple. Alright. Well, Liliana should be able to apply some pressure, although Smasher gets to come down and hit face whenever it feels like it. That is a great draw right there. Oh no, opponent's just going to give us back all of our 1-drops. So we get to delve them away and kind of sculpt our yard, but we have multiple 1-drops. Let's take a quick peek. 6, 10, 12. It looked like 16. Ouch, Lily got hit. Congrats. So obviously discarding Grizzlebrand here. Opponent went for the Simian Spirit Guide for Tech Edge in case it gets activated. Yeah, sorry, it's not getting activated. I wish I would cast both Tasigur and Liliana. But we can go ahead and Tasigur, getting rid of the 3 1-drops. And opponent gambled a little bit with their hand, so they can't even Reality Smasher here. They can Thought-Knot Seer, but Lily will just Edict it. And funny enough, they're willing to Tech Edge us if we played a land, so... Serum Powder, alright, respect. You're going for it. I mean, there's no incentive to keep that in hand. Mutavault can't attack, so... Liliana of the Vel. Okay, so Lily is getting plus, discarding redundant Vel. And before opponent gets an opportunity to draw out of this, I'm going to get the real clock on. If they want to Mutavault and attack a Lily, then sure, it's on them. If they top deck a Smasher, I feel bad. They can technically draw a Dismember to kill my Tasker. Endless one for 3. Okay, that might be enough to keep me on defense. No, because I'm just going to Shrinky Dink. Yep, going after Vel. Obzedat. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to discard an Obzedat. Shrink that. Plus. So what's the advantage here? I guess I'm still ahead because I have active Planeswalkers. If they want to attack one of my Planeswalkers for 1, then that's not good. They get to charge that up over 2 turns. That's a terrible Inquisition. Okay, so let's do that. Get rid of Endless One. Try to defend Mutavault because... Am I willing to sack my Liliana the Vel here to get 4 damage in? Yeah, I think I am. Just because they have Blast Zone, so... She's not long for this world. I do appreciate opponent just letting me know that I should go for it. Just going for full value, pick up Jace. That was a really good mill. That was like a super good mill. Opponent does have 6 Eldrazi mana. All's Dust is becoming a possibility. Thought-Knot's fine. Yep, you got it. Goryos Vengeance on Grizzlebrand. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Yeah, I mean, we're just going for it. Game? Good game. I'm so glad that happened once. With one Grizzlebrand, I figured it probably wasn't going to happen, but it was the deck list that I found, and I made a couple of small adjustments, but I'm like, one Grizzlebrand's probably just one Grizzlebrand. Flip them in. Let's do this. So, we tanking on this? You super dead. Okay, yeah. Locked up. So, Eldrazi Disenchant comes in. Explosives comes in. The problem is that a turn 1 Chalice is really good against our deck, and a turn 2 Counter Squall just doesn't get there. I might bring this in on the play, assuming opponent doesn't have a Simian Spirit Guide, which is acceptable, but it can only stop a All Is Dust or a Karn Great Creator. So I'm not sure exactly how hard I want to prioritize Counter Squall. They're going to try to kill us with Creature Beats. I'm not going to counter the Serum Powder. Yeah, I think we just plan on no Counter Squall. As far as cuts, probably Serum Visions, they're our worst cantrip, and they're 1 CMC, and Thoughtseize hurts us. Again, if we're on the play, that actually grabs a Chalice before it can come out. So we'll make different plays on the play, or different sideboarding options on the play. But for the moment, I think we're just submitting like this. Opponent did blow a lot of resources on their start, and we just had a good answer to it. I'm not sure if we're going to fare that well second time around. We also got kind of lucky to flip Grizzle Daddy. This has a lot of 1-drops. But turn 1 Thought Scour, turn 2 Goryos Vengeance is fine, so I'm just going to hope they don't Chalice on 1. Wow, that's a thing. And that's probably another thing. Okay, now game plan has changed. I am 100% expecting a Thought-Knot, which means I will be pathing probably the Mimic. Nope, Matter Reshaper, but that is enough for me to path. Not a huge fan of ramping opponent here, but... And I need a Godless Shrine. Bye-bye. Opponent also can't cast Leyline of the Void, so finding a Disenchant would turn our graveyard back on. I did board it in, right? I'm good at this game? Yeah, I'm at least okay at this game. But next turn's looking like a Thought Scour targeting the opponent just to try to mill over something kind of important, and a path on whatever their next drop is. Okay, well that makes holding up Thought Scour easier. This Tasker's slightly awkward with... Yeah, that's fine. Likely naming Tasker here or potentially Polluted Delta. Maybe Field of Ruin. I actually could see Field of Ruin because it's going to kill their Mutavault or their Eldrazi Temple. Tasker's activation doesn't do anything with the Leyline out. Honestly, our hand's pretty bad. Oh, I'm on clean capture. Sorry, guys. I meant to put this back on with the overlay. As long as we're on the screen, we are currently up a game versus Eldrazi Tron. I'm so bad at updating my record. And this is when it dies. I thought so, I just wanted to confirm. So Path will still get them a land, which is essentially what Matter Reshaper was going to do anyway, but protecting our life total feels kind of important. Bad sequencing there as well. I should have Thought Scoured first in case they only have 2 wastes and I happen to hit one. Mill targeting you. Oh boy, that's awful. That is so awful. Liliana of the Vel. Okay, well, that means Field of Ruin's coming down, getting me my other white source for this Obzedat if I get there. Waiting for Mutavault to tap just in case they're trying to do something instant speed shenanigan-y like Warping Well. Going for the Strip Mine. Okay, well, cost you 2 lands to not get a land versus me not getting a land. It's kind of fine. Chalice on 1, turns off future cantrips as well as removal. Opponent doesn't know about the Polluted Delta, so I'm not going to run it out yet. I mean, that was an okay play from opponent. They are currently ahead on clock. But drawing this land here means that they kept me off of Obzedat for the moment. I think I still just want Disenchant. Okay, well, now I want to land. Of note, the way that Eternal Scourge is worded, I can target it with a Fatal Push or a Path to Exile to temporarily remove it. Although it's looking like it's not going to matter here in a moment. Getting a Godless Shrine and Marsh Flats. So I'm actually just dead. I'm pretty sure they saw Obzedat, but this is going to enter, drain them for 2, put me to 3. I block Reality Smasher, and then die to the Scourge. I want another Disenchant. I don't think EE's good enough with so many people running Leyline of the Void for a Hogak. Okay, well, that hits Chalice. This is technically going to hit Chalice. Opponent also showed us a Sorcerer Spyglass. I don't think that's nearly as relevant, but we can try it. The Lingering Souls can block most of the Eldrazi, but it dies to Endbringer, and like each one of these dies to Endbringer. The half cast is just negated by a turn, and Reality Smasher can't block. I'm actually kind of thinking that. I don't mind having a Lingering Souls, I just don't think it's very good. And I just want to have discard for the Chalice. Yeah, this is fine. I don't know. It does a good job blocking medium-sized Eldrazi, but it just doesn't feel right. I think I'd rather go proactive and actually try to stop opponent from just locking me out of the game early. I have plenty of things that can deal with the Eldrazi if we get late enough. I just need my actual removal spells live. Do I actually want Collective Brutalities to kill Matter Reshapers? Let's actually submit like that. I like Obzedat. Jace is fine. It's worse with Leyline. Since opponent's actually on Mimic, I really want this last one. Maybe just trim a Thought Scour. It's a medium cantrip. If they have Leyline, it's a really bad cantrip. The idea being that it kills at least 8 Eldrazi in their deck, and if they're on the 4 Scourges, then it can technically kill 12. Well, the Scourge just comes back, so that's not nearly as relevant, but I think it's live enough that it's worth trying to make a consideration for if we get locked under a Leyline, since EE doesn't necessarily blow it up. EE does hit Chalice, though, as long as you can tap for colorless. Opponent has a Chalice on 0, Chalice on 1. You can just pay 2 colorless and have it come in with 0 counters because of the way that Sunburst is worded. It's not on here, but it gets a counter for every color of mana spent on it. So you can vary the CMC and just get around the Chalice. Although the only card that taps for colorless in our deck is Field of Ruin. But they're not going to Chalice on 0. They're going to have to see our hand before they Chalice on 0. Alright, let's play first. I want to keep this just because it has the disenchant. We'll let opponent try to mulligan for Leyline. Hopefully they overvalue it. They're currently at 6. The disenchant gets around Leyline and Chalice, though, so if they're just going for a quick one, yeah, they're at 5. So, land, Simian Spirit Guide, Chalice, that puts them down to 2 cards left in hand. And they had the Leyline, so why not? Creeping Tar Pit, intent is to get a white source to disenchant it on 2, and then Darkslick Shores, slam a Lily. Mutavault's medium, but this looks like a Mimic. Nope, it's a Chalice. Which one do I prioritize more? I think I wait. I think I'm at a moment I don't need to take the shock. Opponent is very low on resources. That's a reason not to do that. Liliana of the Vel. We'll just discard the Darkslick Shores. It's not really doing anything productive for us, and opponent is already taxed on cards. They had the Mimic. Alright, I was a little afraid of Temple and Thought-Knot Seer, but Brutality. Really don't think that changes anything, so I can Brutality and Duress them, but big whoop. Opponent can also Tech Edge me next turn. Yeah, so this Creeping Tar Pit can bait out. Whatever. Creeping Tar Pit's just going to get eaten by Tech Edge. It's fine. It's very possible opponent ends up just activating Blinkmoth and Mutavault to kill my Liliana the Vel this turn. Like, that's well within the realm of possibility. That Liliana. This one's going to be at 4. But, I don't know. Active Planeswalkers. Opponent mulligan pretty aggressively. I can hit whatever I feel is more relevant. next turn. This Leyline stopping our graveyard strategy. This Chalice is stopping our cantrips and removal, but opponent currently has nothing going on. And I'm actually just going to get rid of this Collective Brutality. We have a live Last Hope. Last Hope plus Brutality doesn't kill a Thought Knot, but this land means the top deck Obzedat can be hardcast. They are going to Tech Edge me, but I don't really care. They're running out of steam. If they Tech Edge me, it means that they're not killing Liliana. Alright, opponent, what would you like to discard? You have two options. It's also quite possible that next turn I just minus Liliana, leaving up Disenchant. I'd need a blocker. I'd need some kind of blocker. I don't want Mutavault to eat Liliana for a whiff with... Like, I'd have to Disenchant and then draw exactly Jace to block. Really don't have much else to comment on board state. Opponent has been tapping their mana to aggressively attack Liliana. I don't know if that means that they're just trying to keep Liliana low or if they don't have something for the CMC. It's possible that they have a Ghost Quarter. All right. Plus no targets. It is very possible that they just have an Eldrazi Temple and a Smasher. Okay, so they got rid of their land, which means they probably have two pieces of gas in hand. Marsh Flats. Feel confident having 5 lands out. Like, they can Tech Edge me, but that still leaves me live to draw a land for Obzedat. This Disenchant also feels relevant. If opponent taps like this again, it means that I can eat their Mutavault with Creeping Tar Pit. When they're that far down on resources and I have active Planeswalkers, that feels well worth my time. I had another Chalice. Another reason to hit Leyline here is if they do have another Chalice, they can just recast it. They won't have the black mana for Leyline unless they're running an Urborg, and most lists have kind of given up on that. Interesting. I'm just going to hit the Leyline. I want future graveyards to be live. Collective Brutality. Well, I'm going to plus Lily, so opponent actually won't be put in the same position if I Collective Brutality because I won't be able to cover Creeping Tar Pit. So, sure. I'm just going to take a peek. I want to see what they're squatting on. Mimic and Thought Knot. This does leave Lily open to get killed, but honestly, I've been drawing a lot of lands. A whole lot of lands. Yep. Scans. Goryos Vengeance is a good draw. So I actually am going to... No, I'm plussing Lily. I'm so close to Alding her, so I'm going to try to force opponent into Blink Moth. That's just giving them more turns. I skipped through my first main phase and I should have thought about that harder because odds are I'm going to be... Yeah. I don't like making this trade over and over again. It's just giving my opponent time to draw out of their situation. That's kind of okay. I'm going to play to win here. I'm going to take a little bit of a greedier line. I'm going to minus Liliana, put some stuff in the yard. If I find a good creature, I can Goryos it into play. If not, I'll pick it up and probably just cast it. I'm only 2 mana off of Grizzlebrand. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and fetch to thin the deck just a little bit because I'm going to be looking at 2 cards here. And I've drawn so many lands. Rip. All right. Well, we will win this race, so I'm just going to go for it. I was probably being too conservative on the previous turns. I need to start trying to cash out Liliana, start putting pressure on my opponent. A land here for Thought Knot takes my Goryos Vengeance, and I fall pretty far behind. Yep. Path is a redraw. Happy to see that. Ah! So bad at this game. I just pulled an opponent and casted Graph Digger's Cage. Counter Squall. Alright, well, they are going to send Mutavault at Lily and Thought Knot at me. If I find an Obzedat, I become a huge favorite. Opponent also has no reason to start ticking up Blast Zone yet. Yeah, that path could have been a discard to a Goryos Vengeance. Field of Ruin. I think I punted this game away. I really do. It took me a little too long to start pressing my advantage. But I have drawn so many bad cards, just so many of them. That's another endless one. Something like a Damnation would be kind of nice at this moment, but not running any. Thoughtseize. Lovely. So I'm on blocking... Jump blocking. Goryos Vengeance doesn't do it. Collective Brutality doesn't do it. I actually think I'm just dead here. Yep. All right. That's a beating. That's definitely a beating. Let's go ahead and update the record. We are currently 2-2. But we've had a pretty fun showing for Esper Goryos Vengeance. A lot of the list I was looking at for this deck were a little out of date, so we don't really have considerations for Wrenn and 6 at the moment. And there's a lot of Leyline of the Voids running around. I definitely do believe that we need more disenchants in the side. Missing cards are Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Haven't really fixed flip cards on the website yet, just been slacking. But we've had a lot of powerful cards. I do think I would want another Tassiger in the list as well. We did flip Grizzlebrand tonight. That was fun. Did not think that was going to happen. But we'll see if we can take the 3-2, see if we can cash out. This is a playable looking hand, but we have no action until turn 3, so it's going to be a pretty decent mulligan. And this is a Serum into a turn 3 Grizzlebrand off of a Jace. These are the hands I love to keep. We're going to tuck the Liliana just because it's not productive at the moment, and we're going to hope that opponent doesn't interact. It doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be the case. I need to get a Watery Grave to actually cover all my mana costs here, and we'll just Serum. Thought Scour, Collective Brutality. So Scalding Tarn is making me think that this is Phoenix. Versus Phoenix, the Collective Brutality can be okay. The Thought Scour could be a decent turn 3 play just to fill their yard. Honestly, I don't think I want either of these. I think I'm just looking for lands or something a little bit more interaction-y or a way to recover if this doesn't work out. That's a thing in the ice. So that does make our Grizzle Daddy a little awkward. Hopefully they just don't kill our Jace. If they kill our Jace, I'll be a little sad I didn't keep that Brutality. That probably should have been a consideration. They at least have Lightning Bolt. So if I would have Collective Brutality'd here, opponent would have known that they would have had to leave up interaction. Versus them just flipping Thing in the Ice and hitting me for 7. Alright, well, let's see if they get there. That's 1. If they have cantrips, they'll probably make it happen. Otherwise, Faithless Looting is probably going to be pretty good. I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of this deck. Like, opponent was on the play, and that's pretty huge, but I'm turn 1 cantrip, turn 2 JVP, turn 3 get hit in the face by... Wow. They're going to go for it. I'm conceding this. I don't want to show them our deck. We're not coming back from that. Surgical Extraction comes in. Leyline of the Void comes in. You bring in Leyline of the Void when you believe you're not going to die to a thing in the ice. We have Path to Exiles, Fatal Pushes, Thoughtseizes. We're pretty good there. In fact, EE could be a consideration. So the nice thing about EE with this matchup is it can also snag Aria Flame because we are 3-color. Liliana Last Hope is pretty actively bad. Grizzlebrand is just going to get flipped by a thing in the ice, even if we have our fast starts like we would have been expecting last game. I'm not sure if I want to bring in Disenchant, just hoping they're on Arya. It's likely not going to be that good. Collective Brutality is probably a cut. Seeing as how they already showed us Surgical Extraction, it might actually just be the Goryos Vengeance package, in which case I probably should have shown them the deck. Geist is hard to interact with, puts up a real clock. I could see Geist. Like, we're probably going to go fair here. Counter Squall is also a fair consideration. If we're taking out the Graveyard package, that probably means that an Obzedat can get trimmed, and... I don't know. Liliana the Veil's really good here. There's just a lot of cards that I want. If we're over, Serum Visions is probably the first cantrip to get cut. I'm not very excited about trimming Serum Visions since opponent's not on Chalice, but it's just not actively good. And maybe just a JVP because opponent was willing to sack a mountain on turn 3 to kill it. And it's legendary, and we don't have Goryos Vengeance. Sure. I don't have a lot of hope for this. We are technically a creature-based matchup, and opponent has Thing in the Ice. I could try to mulligan for something a little bit better, but this is a Counter Squall on turn 2. Hey, look at that. They just love top decking that card. Sleight of hand. So no Thing in the Ice here. I would not be surprised to see a Faithless Looting. I might need to counter a Faithless Looting just because they're going to try to free cast a spell to get Phoenixes into play. Yeah, that's fine. Path is a pretty decent top deck. This polluted delta is actively going to be getting us a white source because that will allow us to path and also EE on 3, assuming we see an Aria Flame. Thing in the ice. I'm going to wait on the Path to Exile. Opponent clearly just top decked it, and they're trying to figure out if it was worth firing off a spell off the Scalding Tarn. Jamming a Leyline here seems so bad. We're just going to get hit for 7. So I'm okay to hold up Counter Squall and Path for one more turn and then Leyline and Path. It also might have been correct to just run out EE on 2 there. That would have forced opponent to either try to interact with it or kind of just give up on Thing in the Ice and start planning an alternate path. That actually might be this upcoming turn. I kind of like Leyline with the path here, but EE for 2, path, and... Oh, wow. Nope, I don't want you to get Phoenixes in the bin, so let's counter that. Opponent was about to go off here. This Faithless Looting is typically a sign of trying to pitch Phoenixes before going off. Yep, there's your Manamorphose. Opponent has not made their land drop yet, but currently that Manamorphose means that they're not going into combat with any mana to interact with my path. Now they'll have a blue, but... Okay, so this is going to put Phoenixes in the bin, and any future spell is going to flip Thing in the Ice, putting him back in hand. Oh, they were just trying to get rid of lands. Yeah, that's fine. No titty for you. Obzedat. That's an Obzedat. It's going to drain for at least 4, but I'm really afraid opponent's going to go off here. So let's just go ahead and Leyline. It's conservative, but let's Leyline. And I could put up the Plains, but that's only going to stop a single Phoenix, and it's going to be hard cast from hand. So Watery Grave tapped seems like the best line here. Then that'll leave up a untapped land for next turn, or just a basic. I don't mind pitching to a Collective Brutality or a Liliana. It is worth noting that opponent's deck does occasionally run Blood Moon in the side, so this Snow-Covered Plains is also incentivizing them to go for a Blood Moon, in which case I can just slam the Plains, put out 3 mana on the explosives, and blow it. Ah, look at that. They tap their blue sources for that. Tisk tisk opponent. Not a fan of that line. This is America explosives. Now, if they Force of Negation this, oh, that feels so bad. Alright, well, I guess they kind of baited me into that, but if they would have tapped these 2, they could have just paid for Force of Negation. Alright, that is a Phoenix. So I need to find another path. Yikes. Lingering Souls will incentivize Arclight to not attack, but they only have 1 card in hand, so they won't be able to flip the Thing in the Ice. I think if opponent attacks with the Arclight here, I just take it. They're likely to have a lava dart somewhere in there. Wait, why do they have a breeding pool? Are they running Noxious Survival? Exiling a Thought Scour and a Titty. Another Phoenix. Okay, well, with Leyline of the Void out, this is a pretty easy block. If opponent has a gut shot, it wouldn't be in hand, so that's fine. Inquisition that's uncastable. Alright, well, no black mana makes this feels bad, man. If opponent hits a cantrip, we'll see if they want to flip the thing in the ice. If they do, then I have path for it. I think I'm taking the 3. That's a swamp. Put out blockers for the Arclight, which means they'll be incentivized to flip the thing in the ice. Get a path it, and then they'll just recast an Arclight Phoenix, but it's a little bit of time. Could have been also correct to Inquisition there, try to take anything that they have to flip the thing in the ice. Oh boy, opponent's going for it. Spell Pierce targeting the... Yep. So we'll see if they pay for it. Okay, they do. That means Arclight's staying in hand for a turn. We'll path this dude. We go to 7. Opponent has an Arclight in hand, and that's it. Inquisition can't hit it. A little unfortunate. Thoughtseize would be kind of okay. Watery Grave, that does nothing. We did hit a couple of live draws for Goryos Vengeance. Yep, going down to 4. So I'm dead. Like, I can go through the steps, but they're just a gut shot or a lava bolt away from killing me. I'm at least 2 turns away from gaining life, assuming perfect top decks, which would be EE. Okay, well, surprised I didn't cast that. Yep, GG's opponent, you got it. Still not a huge fan of this deck. I think it does things that really hedge out anybody trying to do anything fun and fair. But Esper Goryos. So again, recap. The dead cards are Jace Vryn's Prodigies. This was pretty sweet. Like, I think when Hogak gets banned next week, we'll probably be looking at a meta a little more friendly to graveyards. When the meta is a little more friendly to graveyards, most people probably won't try to overboard to absolutely obliterate your Lingering Souls Goryos Vengeance plan. I think the Grizzlebrand was a little, greedy, but we pulled it off. I mean, I flipped a Grizzlebrand. Very happy about that. A lot of fun. No complaints from my side. We were fairly close to casting it. Like, we are fairly close to Jun's game plan with all the Inquisitions and discards, and we have the Fatal Pushes and Pass. Like, we can go into a late game, and honestly, hitting 8 mana with this deck did not feel overly difficult. But it did feel like the cards that we want are Tasigur. We need more Disenchants. Like, everybody had Graveyard Hate. Excuse me, was dying. Fourth Liliana the Vel would be good. I've always been a firm believer that you want 0 or 4 lilies. Anywhere in the middle feels awkward. Lily Last Hope kind of did okay. She really shined against the Mana Dorks, but the problem is Ren and 6 is pushing Mana Dorks out of the format, so not overly excited about jamming my deck full of more 3 drops that are circumstantial like that. Sideboard could probably use a little bit of help. The Collective Brutality 4 set is because of Burn, Counter Squall. Is just showing that it's pretty good when Negate's good. We could also be running Dovin's Veto in that spot. Dovin's Veto might actually be better in the control matchups or against Chalice, just because the cannot be countered clause is actually relevant, where the 2 life isn't overly relevant in our deck. When we won games, it was typically because we had an Obzedat and we had to ground them to the point that he was relevant, not because we were putting some damage out and pressuring an opponent and the 2 life made a difference. But this list is a little old. This deck hasn't really been around since, I even want to say Modern Masters was around. Like, this was a Khans of Tarkir Battle for Zendikar style deck. Like, it's been a while since Modern's played this. But still been pretty fun. Either way, I don't think I can comment more on it just because Graveyard is a thing, and I mean, we saw it. It did fine. But I am 13. I play a bunch of fun different decks. We're rounding about 7 months worth of content. All of that's up on YouTube. Feel free to go check it out. If you have a fun deck or fun strategy, I'd be happy to look at it. Can't guarantee I'll play it, but feel free to send it to decks@squirreldealer.com. We'll take a look, let you know what we think, and if it's something really cool, maybe we will highlight it. I play a bunch of different decks. My schedule over there is on the left, and Brad One plays on Tuesday and Thursday. Feel free to check out all of our content at the Squirrel Dealer staff account. They will be hosting all the content. You'll know which channel to go to. We also have our Twitter account. It's not overly productive, but we will happily respond to you there. And if you want to hit me directly, feel free to hit me up on Reddit. Little piece of housekeeping. I actually have to go help my brother pick up a car from a dealership on Wednesday. I'm going to help him with his business. So I'm going to I'm going to be super late. And instead of just streaming late, I'm going to be posting a how to use Scryfall video and try to add a tool to the community out there so everybody actually understands how to run Scryfall's SQL-like functions. So I'm going to do a full breakdown of that. Won't be on Twitch. I'll upload it straight to YouTube, so keep an eye out for that. Brad Wan should hopefully be playing a deck tomorrow night. I'm assuming it's going to be something a little bit more competitive. And then I will see you all next Sunday. Thanks for sticking around with me tonight. This was pretty fun deck. Like, I have no complaints about it. Anytime I'm registering JVP, it's a fun time. And I will see you all Sunday.